What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Video Nasties. Today we are doing The Driller Killer from 1979. If you guys are watching over on Retro Horrors channel, I'm Dan from Reject Films.
And I'm Wayne, Retro Horror. If you're watching on my channel, I've got Dan from Reject Films. Thanks for coming.
Yep, thanks for being here once again. Every week so far, we're gonna try to continue that trend if at all possible. Yeah, I will, like usual, let Retro here talk about the synopsis of the film, and then we'll give you guys our overall thoughts and opinions on the film. And yeah, and let us know what you guys think of the movie down in the comments below if you have seen this one. We'll try to keep it somewhat spoiler free. We won't give everything away if you guys haven't seen the film yet, but there will be some spoilers because that's just, how we do things, I guess. So go ahead with the synopsis.
All right, so we've got an Abel Ferrara film here, Driller Killer, 1979. And I think it was made. It was kind of a 2-year project. Abel Ferrara stars as Reno, a painter who was living in a loft apartment in New York with I couldn't tell whether it was like 2 girlfriends or 2 roommates or a little bit of both. But basically, he slowly succumbs to the pressures of life and ultimately snaps. And you can make a strong argument that he snaps mainly because a punk band called the Roosters moves in next door or up above his apartment and plays nonstop shitty music 24 hours a day. And he finally just snaps and he starts killing homeless people with a drill. So that's basically the storyline.
Yeah. And it's also driven by the fact that they're kind of low on funds, they're behind on rent and keeping up with bills and everything like that. So you got the stress of that and the stress of him getting that painting done that he's working on and everything combined into one. And like you said, that band just playing the same song over and over too just really drove him over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, if I had that band playing in my house 24/7, I probably would kill somebody too. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Oh my God! It just the Roost. I obviously it was supposed to be a band that kind of mimics the punk scene, the New York Dolls and bands like that. It was supposed to kind of give you that feel, and it did. I mean, I think the film does an admirable attempt to make you feel like you're in the early mid 70s New York and how that feels. But and the life of in New York City, it's very sleazy. You got a lot of homelessness. In fact, the homeless people in the film were real homeless people. He filmed them and just talked to them and had them as part of the movie. It wasn't actors it was real homeless people. That I don't know if you noticed in those shots. That was so Abel did a great job of capturing kind of the hopelessness and kind of the life of New York City, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, that gritty feel of New York at the time. I always enjoy that in the movies from the 70s and early 80s that you really get a feel of the city. You can almost like smell where they're at because of the way that it's shot. It's not shot pretty, it's not shot like a big budget movie or anything. So you really feel that grittiness of the underbelly of the city.
It really do. And that the film was shot in Abel Ferrara's Union Square apartment. So it gave you a very realistic feel for what life would be like in the mid late 70s in New York City. I think Abel did a great job. Now, and yeah, this is his first feature film too, so I think you gotta cut him some slack. I mean, it's a slow burn. It's obviously because it's a video nasty. You're thinking you're going to see this gory slasher film, but it's really more of an urban drama than a slasher film.
Yeah. And again, just kind of like the Killer Nun one we did, it's kind of a character study as well. I mean, it's just focuses on him and how he deals with certain situations and everything, and his, what was it, like a schizophrenic aspect in there as well. Like he doesn't even remember doing some of the killings and things. It's like it's like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, as they talked about in some of the features. You know, this other personality takes over, and it's not really him doing this stuff. It's another, you know, part of him.
Yeah, he basically snaps. I mean, the combined pressures of living in a really rough environment, you know, money's an issue. And he's obviously he's an artistic guy, you know, he's a painter. And then you've got that coupled with the damn roosters playing. It is funny though. I think there's some dark humor in this film. Did you notice the roosters? Obviously, the key element of the film is they're playing nonstop. They don't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end, all of the roosters. Did you see the scene where they're all asleep except for the lead guitar singer? He's playing, and everybody else is asleep. Finally, the fuckers go to sleep.
Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be funny, but I caught it. But
how did you feel as far as the kills on this? I mean, obviously, a lot of the blood just looked like red paint, but I mean, you have the scene that's on the cover is, you know, the most graphic. But other than that, do you feel like they were extreme enough to, you know, fall into that category as well of video nasties, or just that one main scene?
I don't think it was graphic at all. I mean, in fact, some of the killings are so quick. You know, there's quick cutting. The first kill, you see him kind of charging the person, and then it just kind of cuts away. You don't see anything. I mean, yeah. Obviously, the drill to the face was the iconic scene, and that's the scene that Vipco, you know, put on their advertising campaign back in the 80s. And that's what got the film banned, at least according to Abel Ferrara, is this scene on the box cover of the Vipco labels. What really got the film banned, not any of the other kill scenes. I mean, to me, the kill scenes are fairly tame. Yeah, I mean, you know, the scene where the guy gets drilled in the back and he's got the plexiglass. You know, he's going down the plexiglass. That's so ridiculous. How can you can't? I mean, it doesn't even. It's not even very gruesome because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, even the drill to the head, you can tell like the drill bit stays in the same spot the whole time, so it's obviously not going in anywhere. Like there's no.
It's like I say, to me, this is much more of an urban drama than a slasher film. You really don't get involved with him snapping and actually killing people to the last 40 minutes of the thing.
Right. Yeah, it does take a while for even the first kill. You know.
Yeah. And Abel Ferrara said he really made this to kind of get in the pants of the blonde that's in the, you know, his one of his roommates, I think her name's Bambi in real life. He was infatuated with that real thin blonde girl, Bambi. Mm-hmm. And apparently she was like a dancer, like a professional dancer, not like a stripper dancer, but like, you know, a New York, you know, a well-trained dancer. But anyway, his whole thing was, I made this movie so I can get to be next to her. That was his whole deal.
Yeah, and like you said, this is his first feature film. Of course, this coming right off of 9 Lives of a Wet Pussy, the porno.
Yeah,
which has a Vinegar Syndrome release now under a different name, of course, because of all the stuff that was going on with pornography at the time. They didn't want to use their real names, so everybody used a pseudonym or whatever. But I think this is my first Abel Ferrara film, actually, that I've watched. So, and watching the feature on here where they go through his whole filmography, you know, it definitely looks like a lot of interesting films. I take that back because I forgot he did King of New York, which I've seen, right, and some other ones that I didn't realize he was involved with because he used, you know, different names back in the day. But I mean, for writing and directing and starring in this movie, he did a great job, you know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the talent is there. And I don't judge this purely on whether it's a great horror film or not, or a great slasher film or not. If you look at it that way, you're probably not going to give it a high rating. I look at this much more as an urban drama And from that standpoint, I give it a 6 out of 10. It's not my favorite by a long mile. It's not my favorite Abel Ferrara film. He's done so many that I love. Miss 45 was the next film he did. That's a fantastic rape revenge film.
Yeah, I still need to pick that up and watch it. I hear nothing but great things about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and then
mean,
A Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. I fucking love that.
mhm.
Oh my god! And of course, King of New York. The Addiction is a fantastic vampire film he did.
Yeah, I just put that on my list. I didn't know anything about that movie until I saw that. Then I saw Christopher Walken was in it and everything. And yeah, I mean that sells me right there. I love Christopher Walken, and he worked with him quite a bit. He worked with him and Willem Dafoe a lot. So, and I love both those actors. So I'm definitely interested in some other films of his. Um, but I don't give ratings, of course. So my suggestion is, unless you're a hardcore collector or fan of film, then, at least stream it. But if you guys are big film fans, I say definitely at least pick up this Arrow release, if nothing else, for the features on here. The features are absolutely incredible. Like I said, you get that really long retrospective of his filmography with a voiceover talking about all of his films, and you get an interview with him, which, man, can you count how many times he says "you dig" in that interview? Because
Well,
wow,
he
uh,
he's an I love Abel Ferrara. I
he
mean,
sounds like an awesome dude. Yeah,
I mean, he's another one like Richard Stanley. They just have their own orbit. I mean, they really do. You gotta love them. They have their own orbit, and
yeah,
you got to either you love it or you hate it. They don't give a shit.
yeah.
They are who they are.
As soon as he started talking in that interview, and it was like every other word was cussing of some sort, I'm like, whoa, hello. Like,
Yeah,
this is a pretty cool guy.
I did. The commentaries are a hoot. So there's this Cult Epics release, which I've got this old DVD. It's a Cult Epics release. It's got an audio commentary by him. It's totally different than the Arrow. The Arrow is a brand new audio commentary, but both of those commentaries are. I think both the commentaries are well worth picking these up just because of him. He's such a character. I mean, I could sit and listen to him I could sit and listen to Richard Stanley for hours. Abel Ferrara's another guy. I could just sit and listen to him for hours. He's just so cool. He just don't give a fuck. He just says whatever he wants to say.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely get that vibe from him right off the bat. It seems like you said, somebody you can just listen to, sit and talk and for hours. Like he
Yeah.
knows his shit. He knows everything. He's been in the industry for so long, and he's learned from all his mistakes and how to do things better and how to do things faster. And I mean, like you said, it took a couple years to get this movie done, and that's why he ended up playing the main role, is because he didn't have an actor to just have sit aside for 2-3 years until this movie was done. He didn't have a set end date or anything. So, but I would have liked to seen him act in more films. I think he's a really good actor. I mean, he plays what, the rapist in Miss 45, one of the rapists, right?
Yeah.
And,
Well, the thing he does, whether it's directing or acting, is believability. He brings believability, instant believability. A lot of horror films, slashers in particular, the first thing you notice is I don't buy that character in that setting because of the actor. Abel Ferrara, man, I bought it immediately. He's some painter that goes that snaps. I mean, he has a way, even though the film I think is his first effort, and he'll tell you, he was learning. He really was learning as he went. He used 16 mm stock, and this is his first film. He didn't know what he was doing. He freely admits that. But what he did know how to do is give you believability, whether it's the homeless scenes or just capturing New York City at that time, or in his portrayal of this painter. I mean, I think he really knocked it out of the park as far as the believability.
yeah. I mean, a couple scenes that really come to mind is the scene where he's kind of getting all pissed off at his painting, and then he's like, apologizing to it afterwards. It's like, I'll never hurt you, like,
Yeah.
you can tell like this guy is really fucked up in the head. And that scene there, and the one where a very simple scene, but where he's sprawled out onto the table and he's got the Alka Seltzer and the Bayer medicine. That scene right there was just so realistic, just so natural that you just really feel like this is a real guy that's going through this shit.
Yeah, and he said in the commentary that he got that idea from his dad. His dad used to uh, basically drink a bunch of Bayer aspirin with the pep, whatever that shit was, the Alka Seltzer or whatever. I mean, so he picked up real life events and portrayed them in the film. I think he did a great job as far as that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one I'm gonna definitely revisit, and I want to sit and watch it with the commentaries as well. I didn't get a chance to watch the commentaries; it was already running late, and I thought I had to go to work the next day, which I didn't have to. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely recommend the commentaries. They're fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't start listening to commentaries till probably about a year ago, so I always found them boring when I was younger. Like I don't want to listen to somebody talk over a movie. That's stupid. But now it's like once you become a real lover of film, it's a must anymore.
Well, there's some films that the background of the film is much more interesting than the film itself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, there's a bunch that come to mind. Joe Bob's commentary on "I Spit on Your Grave" is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. With all the low budget B movie schlocky shit we watch, yeah, the commentary is going to be better than the movie.
Oh yeah. Did you does your version of this have the it's a 90-minute film with Abel Ferrara shot basically in New York City, and he's
walking. Oh, the Mulberry Street one.
Yeah, the Mulberry Street.
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah,
yeah, that's great.
That's the only feature I didn't get to watch. I watched, because the other one was like an hour long too or some shit, or it was like 35-40 minutes of his filmography, and then I watched the interview. After that, it was it was getting late, so that's the only feature I didn't watch.
It's a great release. I don't think it's an expensive release. I think you can pick this up for $15. Even with the exchange rate, I don't think it's a lot.
Yeah, I know the regular U.S. Arrow edition is like $27 on Amazon. I'm sure you can find it cheaper though, especially on Facebook groups or something. You can get it for like $15-$20.
Really, it's that much? 20? I thought it'd be cheap. 27.
Yeah, that's usually about the Arrow retail price if it's not on sale. But like I say, keep an eye out for sales, and a lot of times Amazon will price match other people. If you guys pick up stuff from them, it'll probably drop down to like a $17.99 or some shit title. Or if nothing else, if you guys are region free, wait for one of those awesome Arrow sales and get the UK release or something.
Yeah.
And we both watched the pre-release version, right? You watched the pre-release one.
Well,
you've seen this movie a few times, but
I've probably seen this movie 8 times because I've watched it with the commentaries. So yeah, but I did watch the pre-release, which I think is like maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah. There's a scene of a blimp. It's all stuff that's shot in the very first part of the film.
Yeah.
There's a scene of a blimp going by. Goodyear blimp. That's nothing earth shattering.
I think the very beginning was different because I started playing the pre-release version, and then the quality wasn't great on this transfer. I'm sure I know they did the best they could do with the elements, and I was like, oh, maybe the theatrical one looks better. And then, so the opening scene in the church, you do get a little bit of dialogue before he actually walks into the church on the pre-release one. But it must have been a really rough negative they had to work with because Arrow always does top-notch transfers, and this thing was still a little rough. But
it's I don't know how it happened, but the film's fallen into public domain. I don't know.
I saw that right before we started recording.
Yeah. So I imagine it's and the camera negative is 16 millimeters, so you can imagine what they were working with from 1979.
So I guess like Night of the Living Dead, we can show scenes from this movie on any videos and not get any copyright claims.
It's public domain, so yeah.
I'm surprised they don't show this in the background of other horror movies like they do Night of the Living Dead then, because you notice they always like somebody's watching that in other horror movies in the background because it's public domain. They don't have to have the rights. I'm surprised this isn't one that you see pop up a lot in those background scenes.
let's face it. If this hadn't hit the video nasty list, would we really know about it? I mean, honestly, I went through the entire 70s and early 80s, and I had no clue about Driller Killer. I mean, and I grew up watching horror, Exorcist, Beyond the Door. I didn't know about Driller Killer. It didn't become a thing until it hit the Nasties list, and then really until Abel Ferrara hit it big with King in New York, stuff like that. It wasn't on people's radar screens, even people that liked horror back in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be on anybody's radar if Arrow hadn't put it out, or these other companies putting it out on Blu-ray and DVD. If it had said on VHS, I don't think a lot of people would have really known about this one because of the fact it's, you think movies like this, you're thinking more 80s, and you see something that was released in the 70s, you're not going to pay as close attention to it. A lot of people are fans of 80s slashers, not 70s. Like, I don't know. I just think it would have sat there on VHS forever had Arrow not grabbed it up. And you said, what was it called? Epix did a DVD. So
yeah.
So you got to be thankful to these companies, man.
I tell you, this is the greatest time in the world to be a horror fan. When I was growing up, all you had was you could go to Kmart and get an 8mm reel or super 8mm reel of like 10 minutes of footage of a Universal film. And that's, you could get Creature in Black Lagoon and Frankenstein, but the extent of your ability to actually buy films was very limited back then.
Well, it's a great time to be one, and at the same time, there's such an overabundance,
Yeah,
So I kind of like the '90s era. Things were easily accessible at the video stores, but there wasn't so overwhelming that you didn't even know where to begin or what to watch. And that's why we do things like we're doing right now and doing single episodes of movies, talking about them for you guys to check out. So you're not just overwhelmed with scrolling through Netflix or Hulu or Prime or Shudder or whatever the case. You're not just overwhelmed with all these movies and you're like, I don't know what to choose. So that's why we do this too, is to try to help you guys, make that decision.
Yeah, you really got to narrow your horizon of what you want to watch, what you want to purchase, collect. I mean, other than I can't think of anybody other than Turi that I can't keep up with every release, but it's impossible. It's impossible to keep up with every release.
It really is. I mean, like today, I messaged a few people and made a video about Scream Factory releasing a couple titles out of the blue. It's like, if you don't jump on them right away, they're gone. And then
no. Like I told you, I'm glad you put that out there because that would have escaped my radar. But thankfully, you put that video out there and I grabbed it.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're getting off track of the movie now, but it's, it's just it's crazy with how little amount of stuff is being released theatrically nowadays. There's still so much out there that we can get or feel like we need to get because we're collectors and everything. It's just there's not enough money to keep up with it all. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. One last thing on Driller Killer before I forget. Did you know they were going to make a sequel?
Oh, really?
And it was gonna star David Hess. Of course, we know how that kind of fell through, but that would have been. I think that would have been fantastic, man. David Hess is the Driller Killer. Oh man, I'd have loved that.
I don't know. I mean, I think Abel did a great job.
No, he did. This is not to denigrate Abel. I think he did a fantastic job. But fucking David Hess, come on, man. That's. Yeah. I mean, he would have made a great.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out Tony Coca-Cola and the Roosters, guys, because they're awesome. Retro over here loves that band. Well, I only remembered his first name because it's on our little background here.
Oh man, it kind of reminds me of watching that. What was that MVD release?
The DOA.
DOA. Oh Christ Almighty!
I know you're not a fan of punk. I like it to an extent. I like some of the bands that were around in like the 80s and stuff, but which you guys will see. I'll cover some of it in my new series, the Rediscover series I'm doing, but it won't go too in depth in Punk.
I'm sure you're going to cover Sex Pistols, right?
There'll probably be some Sex Pistols and some Dead Kennedys and stuff like that, but
yeah,
Rancid. Yeah.
All right. Well,
anyways,
that's it for me as far as Driller Killer. I don't really have any.
Yeah, there's not a lot to this movie. I mean, it's pretty simple. I do like the scene too where he's like having one of his hallucinations or whatever, and you see the chick with the bunny head like just out of nowhere. Like, what the fuck? Just,
yeah. Yeah, like again, I think it was a great character study, urban drama, not so great a slasher film as far as from that standpoint. But what do we got? What do we got next week? You got to pick.
So next week we're doing Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker. So it'd be a first time watch for me. I've been wanting to check it out for a while. Of course, the Code Red release. I think they're the only ones who put that out on Blu-ray, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. Is that what you got? The Code Red Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll be a good watch.
So sorry we didn't have a whole lot of storyline on this one. It was pretty straightforward. So that'll happen from time to time.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Dan, appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all I got too. So join us next week, guys, for the Butcher Baker, and hope you guys enjoyed this review. Again, drop down in the comment section if you guys have seen this film and what you guys think of it, or if it sounds interesting and you were going to pick it up, or whatever the case. So until next time, guys, peace, love, happiness, all y'all.
Thanks for watching.
Later.